Starting now. All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Makahi, also known as @TrostDog on Twitter. I'm here with my co-host, Allah,
Trosk.
@Allah
I like how you
Trosk.
Trosky.
Today we're diving into everything from the Seahawks from Week 9. I think we were both kind of inspired by that loss. Not inspired by how they played, but we wanted to get our thoughts out. We've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter, a lot of stuff that we may disagree with, and kind of it's been a long season. We haven't done one of these shows in a long time. So just excited to be back out here, Allah.
Sure,
How you
for
feeling?
sure. I'm a concerned fan, an excited fan, but the Seahawks season is around. That's always a good time. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to be here mid-season. 4-5, lots to be learned and lots to be gained. Still a lot of season left, so excited to talk about it. Excited to dive in.
Absolutely, man. And I appreciate you coming on. I mean, God, this is my I've went to every single home game this year except for the Dolphins game, and it's just been brutal, man. Every time I go to the game, I just have this feeling that we're gonna lose, and it shouldn't be that way. This is 4 straight home losses, and so I think we can kind of just dive in, right? The Seahawks lose to the Rams 26-20 in overtime thriller. We haven't talked yet this year, but there's a lot to talk about in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of the team. But first, I kind of just want to give my thoughts. Like, I thought the defense played very well, actually. From what we've seen recently out of the Seahawks defense, I thought we got great games from Ernest Jones. I thought Devin Witherspoon was really good fitting the run. He had some great blitzes, timely blitzes that did well. He got beat a few times in coverage, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't terrible. I think the defensive line played pretty well. Leonard Williams has been on a streak of just dominance, and that's been great for our D-line. Everyone else playing okay. But overall, I was just happy to see that we were able to stop the run. I don't have the exact numbers up, but it felt like Kyron Williams got bottled up, and that was really, really nice to see. And it also felt like Stafford, I don't think we got a sack on the day, but he was under pressure. You could tell when he was under pressure, he was making off-platform throws, throwing off arm angle, and they were falling short, flat, incomplete. He should have had a few picks, which is frustrating. But, overall, I was very impressed with the defense, which is not something I've been able to say for a lot of this year. But the offense, man, it's the same story since pretty much last year. It's just it's great plays compromised by awful plays, like unrecoverable plays. You're having sacks. I know everyone's talking about the snaps. The right side of the line is just unbearably bad. I know that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. But yeah, man, it's just the same things every week. And I hate to say like the issues are due to bad coaching, but this is kind of just the issues you see on bad teams, right? Like just the negative plays, the sloppiness. And so, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, I was pretty heartbroken after the loss because I really felt like we should have won. And inside the stadium, you could feel the energy. It was the same for the Niners game. It was the same for the Giants game. And it's just so deflating when you go home and there's nothing there. But overall, encouraged by the defense. I think why this loss hurts so bad for me is that it pretty much, I don't want to say it takes us out of the playoff race, but now our margin of error is so little, right? Like 9-8 with our conference record probably doesn't get it done. So you're talking about going 6-2 for the last 8 against a pretty tough schedule, and just being realistic, that's going to be tough. And so, anything's in play. You can see them turn it around, but eventually you got to win the hard ones, and we did not win the hard one this past Sunday. What do you got for me, Allah?
Yeah, I think you encapsulated a lot of the issues and a lot of the strengths on both sides of the ball. I mean, obviously you're right. It's a crucial divisional loss too. You put yourself in a position to play catch up almost. Your back's to the wall, especially coming into this bye week, and then you got the Niners and you got the Cardinals, and then you have those 3 NFC North teams, or those 2 NFC North teams. Excuse me. Or 3, actually. 3 is the Bears, Packers, Vikings. Yeah, straight. So it's going to be difficult. You probably set 10-7, you're in. 9-8, you're gonna have to win the division, and with some luck, who knows what that's gonna look like with the way the Cardinals are playing right now. I mean, the division loss to the Rams, obviously, and then the Niners are about to get Christian McCaffrey back. So all those come into play. But talking about the actual game, I would agree. I think Ernest Jones played great. I think you look well on the tape. Byron Murphy had good plays. Leonard Williams had good plays. I think Roy Robertson-Harris has actually been a pretty good addition. I think that's an underrated part of the defense that hasn't been talked about enough, maybe by most people. You know, he's only on like a 40% snap count. I think Hall and Mafe continue to be effective, maybe above average defenders. Obviously, that controversial roughing the passer call. We'll get into the penalties later. But the defense put themselves in opportunities to create takeaways. There was the fumble luck. Like you said, Stafford's trying to get the ball out of the back of the end zone. Tariq Woolen maybe should have been offensive pass interference in the back of the end zone there. In overtime, obviously, there's the Tariq Woolen ball and then the actual Tariq Woolen pick. So 3 opportunities for him. We'll talk about him too later. I'm sure there's been discussions on Twitter whether he deserves an extension because that's coming up. And obviously, this is the bad, poor game. So we'll have to look at that. Maybe talk about that more over the bye week. But yeah, it's a good game from the defense. Nothing really to complain about. I mean, you give up 13 points in 4 quarters, you expect to win a football game. It's the truth of it, you know, especially with the volume of drives that they had. Absolutely. Forcing Sean McVay to 7 3-and-outs, that's literally unprecedented. Hasn't been done like only twice in his career. So, yeah, it's impressive. You know, you like to see that from Mike, especially with how badly they've been beaten on the run. You talked about bottling up Kyron Williams. He's got 22 carries for 69 yards, 3.1 yards a carry, 2.8 total for the team. That's great numbers. That's like the antithesis to what the season's been like. So you got to take that as a positive. Offensively, yeah, it's the same old story. I mean, you just have drive-killing plays. It's heartbreaking. And Mike Jarrell and Anthony Bradford are just simply not cutting it right now. And there's issues.
They're just garbage. I mean, I hate
they're not NFL quality players.
And like Mike Jarrell, I feel like it was the media's and fans' fault for hyping him up too much for that Falcons performance. One, they were facing the worst rushing team in the league probably, and 2, he got beat by nobodies, and people were like, yeah, he hung in there, like look at everyone else. Like, no, like he was bad, and it just got worse.
So slow. He's just not good. He's just not NFL size or NFL talent. He just doesn't have anything going for him. And
well, yeah, I mean, we can also give him a break, right? He's 4th-string, 6th-round D2 rookie. Like, he could develop into being a swing tackle potentially. But right now, the technique is rough. The play strength is rough, and it is what it is. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I think one of the biggest things that we have to talk about is Geno, right? On the surface, it looks like a not great Geno game. I mean, he had some touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions, including the game-changing pick 6. And so there's a lot of controversy out there. I want to get your take on, you know, Geno's performance on Sunday and then also his performance throughout the year.
I'll say it right now. I think Geno's a great quarterback. I have no doubts. In his ability. I have full utmost confidence in Geno Smith as a quarterback. I would be team extension if that's an option, which it's going to be a discussion I'm sure we're going to have maybe in the offseason. Maybe not a discussion for today, but I am definitely on that side. I watched the entire tape. I watched it twice, and yeah, he's not perfect. He's not perfect, but that entire first half, I mean, there's just so much he's got to deal with and where he still succeeds. That the touchdown to JSN, both of them. I mean, two insane throws, 2 insane plays that not a lot of quarterbacks I think can make. And going on to Twitter, I'll be honest, pisses me off. It pisses me off. Now there can be Geno discourse and understanding. Hey, there's some guys that say he's a top 10 guy. There's some guys that say he's a 10 to 20 guy, and then there's some guys that think he's not even a starting quarterback. And that discourse it's just disgusting. It's flat out disgusting. I'm grossed out by it. I think he's got the worst offensive line in the league. He's got the 24th time to throw in the league, and he still is one of the highest rated quarterbacks under pressure. And it just bothers me. It bothers me. I would love to see Sam Howell just fail, just to see the Twitter boys react to that.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious people bringing up Sam Howell. Like, that guy looked terrible in the preseason. There hasn't been any good reports. Why would we think he'd do any better? So the thing I have with Geno is I agree he's very good, and I think on social media I kind of give him a hard time. But my take is like this, okay? He's a pocket passer at this point, right? He can occasionally create, but you look at charts, you look at plays that are out of structure. He's never at the top of those, and I think it's because he likes to be in the pocket. But what that comes with is now you have to be perfect in the pocket to be, one of the top 10 quarterbacks, because all the good quarterbacks right now, they all can create. That's how you get good third down red zone offenses, is that when the play breaks down, these guys are making plays, right? How many times have we seen Mahomes scramble on a third down, make a play, run forward or throw it? Josh Allen, Lamar, that's where you get those wins because defenses are so good, right? And so if he's not perfect, if he's not throwing dimes, then he's not doing his job. And so I hate when people are like, "Oh, look at this perfect pass he threw." Well, like he has to, because otherwise he's not really adding much value. And I agree, the line play has been terrible. Imagine with a great line play. Yeah, it'd be a lot better. But the other part that I give him more responsibility that I think others do not, and maybe disagree with this, is like, the miscommunications on the offensive line, the snap miscommunications, like plays, not happening on time. I feel like quarterbacks often get a little bit of a pass when, or maybe it's just Geno, that those miscommunications are his fault as well, right? Like he needs to be communicating with the center, he needs to be communicating with the receivers, and like obviously people will jump offside or a false start, but if half the line is jumping offsides, right, then how do you know that it was communicated well enough? I don't know. We're not in those rooms, but there's got to be some responsibility for there. And then also like this concept of hero play, like he has to do everything. Well, like he's the quarterback, like he gets paid the most money. You have to be the hero. It's not going to be easy. Obviously, this isn't Jared Goff where you can just hand the ball off, but even Jared Goff is throwing dimes. Like he bails him out, right? We watched Patrick Mahomes last night or 2 nights ago, and they're running the ball very well. He doesn't have to do much, but when it comes down to third down, like he's playing a little bit of hero ball. Like that's what you get paid to do. And so for him to be the top 10 quarterback, people say, and I agree, he has top 10 talent. He has to be perfect, pretty much. Like he can't make up for it with these game changing, like out of structure plays. If he's not throwing dimes in the pocket, then he's not doing anything. And that's kind of how it goes. Like if he messes up, if he throws a pick six because he holds onto the ball too long, gets his arm hit and it gets down, well, that's tragic, because in other situations, a guy like Patrick Mahomes isn't going to do that. Or obviously, I don't want to compare to Patrick Mahomes. It's not even fair. But like someone else may be able to, run away from that or not make that decision, right? Like the mistakes have to be less costly. I'm talking communication, the picks. I don't blame all the picks on him, but because of the way he plays, like there's not this huge upside, right? It's got to be like perfect from the pocket for him to satisfy that kind of top 10 billing and overcome the deficiencies. And obviously we're thinking holistically. Yeah, the O-line needs to be better, but we have the team we have, so he's got to play clean football when he can. And so if the O-line isn't bad, okay, yeah, he's not going to avoid every sack. But if he has a pocket, and he had a pocket on that one he threw a pick six, it was like 4 seconds into the play.
I agree.
He waits and he gets hit and it's gone. I mean, like that lost the game. So like, I just don't like making excuses for everything. I mean, obviously he hasn't had his best year. I don't think anyone's saying he's been elite, but like he has to be perfect. That's basically what I'm saying. Like he doesn't have much room for error because of how he plays, not just because of the team, but that adds to it. So that's all I got to say on Geno.
I'll rebuttal that a little bit. I think that I mean, I just to say that you need to be a quarterback that can create on third down to be a top 10 quarterback in the league is just doesn't seem real to me, because I can only name 4 guys maybe that can do that consistently, which would be Lamar, Josh, and Patrick, and then you're looking at Jaden Daniels maybe.
I mean,
and then
Daniels
I'm
is really good, and look at his efficiency. You got guys like Bro, who's been spectacular out of structure this year. Spectacular. That guy.
I'm giving Jaden Daniels that credit. I'm giving Jaden Daniels that credit. But I'm saying after that, I'm looking at other guys, and I'm not seeing anything that Geno can't do. He's a more athletic player than Joe Burrow now. He's a more athletic player than Matthew Stafford. He's a more athletic player than Jared Goff. All these other guys that are putting the same pocket passer mentality. He's just as good as them. I look at the third down play to Noah Fant against the Falcons. That is an out of structure play that literally saved our freaking
It happens once
game.
every couple games. I agree.
I mean, there's a game this year where Geno Smith was our rushing leader against the Giants. I think there's a little bit. I can understand your point, but I also see that these quarterbacks are getting paid for that more than Geno is at that same ability. Lamar and Josh and Patrick are all $50 million quarterbacks, which is just not what Geno is right now. And I'm not saying to extend him for that amount of money, but I just look at that touchdown to JSN. It's just a different arm angle. It's an off balance throw. And yeah, he does feel like he needs to play a little bit of hero ball. There's not an excuse there. He should have hit the second dig coming across to Cody White on the touchdown. I don't know if that's DK and maybe he looks at it lower and he's just got eyes locked on JSN the entire time and that's why he holds on too long. But yeah, he does need to be perfect.
On the pick six.
I mean, the pick six. I'm talking about the pick six. Yeah, he holds the ball too long for sure. There's definitely fault there, and communication wise, you're completely right because we have no idea what's going on there. We have no idea there's multiple plays and multiple sacks from this previous game where you just have miscommunicated stunts with Bradford and Gerald, and you're thinking, is that partly Geno's fault too? Like, does he need to say something there? It's tough to grade, but at the same time, you look at the positives and you realize he's first in passing yards. He's top 10 in big time throws with a pretty low turnover rate or turnover worthy play rate. He's turning the ball over more than his expected numbers would say he would. So it's hard to say. I think the baseline numbers are worse than they look, and it's still pretty good. So that's what I have to think about Geno.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think he's a very good quarterback. I think there's almost too much going the other way now, where people feel this need to defend him incessantly. Where, I think, like I said, the way he plays, he has to be perfect. You can't make that mistake. And then I look back at even the Bills game. Like, okay, obviously you're not expecting to get that snap there, but that was a bad snap. But the even the step on his foot play, like, all right, that to me, that's a miscommunication between the center and the quarterback and what's going to happen there, and just small things like that add up. And so I even think back to the Niners game of last year. He's going up for a handoff on Charbonnet and he trips on his foot and we're down at like the 2-yard line. Like, is that his fault or not? Because no one ever blames Geno for that, maybe internally, but not externally. But things like that. I mean, he dropped a snap in this game, and so
yeah, definitely dropped a snap in this game.
He just, like, I love him, but because I don't think he adds that same value out of structure in order to kind of be that top 10. I don't know if people are saying he's been top 10 this year. I think he's had top 10 moments, but it's not necessary to rank him, but I need him to be clean, and I know it's hard, and so. All right, I think that's enough Geno litigation. You have any final thoughts before we move on?
No. He's been very good in 2-minute drill, though. That's undeniable. But I agree with you that the mistakes are costly. Not even the obvious ones, as being the pick six this past weekend or like the pick against Denver. And obviously there was also a throw that was should have been a pick at the end of the game.
True.
Which I think is two real bad throws of the day, which you're throwing the ball 40 times, 34 times in the game. You've got two bad throws. Yeah, they're turnover worthy plays, but I think Stafford did worse. I think he outplayed Stafford in this previous game, so it's hard to tell.
I think he would have. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
maybe
agree. All right, let's move on then. What do you want to talk about now? Like, what stood out to you about that game that we can kind of discuss?
I think staying on the offensive side of the ball, we can talk about the run game.
Sure.
Obviously, some decisions by Mike Macdonald. There's the you know what I did love in the first half? We come out and split T on 4th and 1 and run a halfback lead to the left side. Yeah, Ryan Grubb, where's that creative play calling from Washington, bro?
Are you talking about
where is that? No, I'm talking about this game. I'm talking about the split T in the first drive. It ends up being a punt, or it ends up being the Geno pick. But we get down there. We get down the field. It's 3rd and 1. We try to run up the middle, we get stuffed, and then come out and split T. It's Charbonnet in the middle, Brady Russell on the left, and Kenneth Walker on the right, and we run a halfback lead to the left side, and it's an easy 1 yard. And I just question the creative play calling, because we've seen that short yardage situation from Ryan Gubb a million times this year already now, especially in the last 2 weeks where it's just failed. We're just trying to run it up the middle. We're trying to get 1 yard, just move guys. We can't move guys. The truth is we can't move guys. So he's going to have to get creative with the play calling. I watched maybe the best 4th and 1 call Ryan Grubb made against the Washington State Cougars last year when he was coaching the offensive coordinator with a delayed reverse sweep that went for 30 yards in the biggest moment of the game. I want that kind of Ryan Grubb play calling. We've seen so many creative play calls. I just feel like he gets conservative when the time counts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reflection of the run game. You look at all the other teams around the league, and they're like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. All right, let's run up the gut. We can get 1. And I think he wants to do that, but at this point, we got to realize that when we telegraph a run, we're going to lose.
We're going to lose.
8 times out of 10. And so even the 3rd down play, right? Like we had 2 good runs on 1st and 2nd down. I was like, all right, they're going to run the same play here. And I could see the Rams literally all crowding the box or diving the line, and guess what happens? It goes for no gain, right? And so I don't want to nitpick particular calls, but I think what I would be very surprised to see another short yardage, high leverage situation, and Grubb try to go any sort of heavy package, right? Like I just don't think it's gonna work. Teams you can only run it or you can boot it, and I think people are going to be like, all right, we could play both because our guys are going to win up front, and then we'll play the boot as well. So I'd be very surprised to see if that continues. But yeah, I agree with that. What did you think about the run game on the whole? I mean, the Rams are pretty soft in the run, and I thought we did get some movement, especially with Fisk in the game. You know, people love to talk about how good he is in the rush, but he gets washed. And so we get some good movement there, but overall, still not amazing. Although I do wonder, I don't know if you have the stats, but does the recovery that Kenneth made factor into his numbers? Because I think he ended up for like.
It did not. It did not.
Okay.
That's the Geno fumble. They've got it as a Geno fumble. No loss it down. Yeah.
So what do you think about the rest of the run game? I thought they had good looks and they took advantage sometimes. It definitely wasn't as bad as some past games, but I'm not sure if they were happy with it.
Yeah, so watching the tape, it's interesting. You get a lot of traps, a lot of movement. I think AJ Barner came in motion maybe 6 or 7 times. Same with Lakin, going left to right. And in the first half, it was working. I saw pulling. Yeah, they're pulling. They're coming across the formation. They're pulling. And in the first half, is working. Barner gets some decent blocks on Jared Verse, and same with Lakin. But after a while, in the second half, the Rams fully adjusted. Jared Verse just started blowing up AJ Barner, and I swear every single time he pulled in that second half, he was flat in his ass. And I don't know, I don't know if that's like something you can change. Really, the personnel obviously Noah Fant out.
Well, Noah Fant is not a good blocker, so
it's true. It's true. And then Farrell Brown is if there's a 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and Farrell Brown's not in the game. So I don't know if that tells you about our freaking his trust with him with Ryan Grubb. So it's tough. It's just hard. It's just hard with personnel, and I think you have opportunities to run straight and down the middle, and Kenneth also struggles with that sometimes. No doubt, looking at the end zone cam, you can see him trying to create something out of nothing. It's just a lack of complementary football. It's just no trust in each other. Oftentimes, Bradford's late getting to the second level, or he just gets washed in the first second. That also happens all the time. And you just can't win that way. It's never reliable is the problem. Every single rep is different, and every single rep, somebody seems to be out of place. And it's week 9, so I think you're right. I think there's a change that's got to be made, and it's tough because there's the game this year where the infamous game where Kenneth got about 6 carries and people were mad, and then the next 2 games we proceed to give him about 15, 20 carries for about 40 combined yards. So I don't know what you do as a play caller.
I agree with you. And so I think the 49ers game will be another good test. They don't have the best run defense. but we didn't run very well against them, and I think part of that was,
Not at all.
well, we screwed ourselves in the first half, which has happened very often, right? We fell into a 21 to
Yes.
3 hole, but I think at this point, well, I was gonna say like that cohesion has been hard to build, right? Like you're having rotating people at right tackle, you're having
True.
rotating people at right
Very
guard,
true.
and now, I think Abe Lucas will be a long-term upgrade, and there's been some mixed messaging recently. At first, I felt pretty good about him playing at San Francisco.
Doesn't sound like it.
But
It
it
might not
sounds
happen,
pretty
dude.
sus to me. And so, like, if Mike Jarrell's playing against Nick Bosa, I think people are going to be like, I wish Stone Forsythe was back, and he was pretty bad. And I think Nick Bosa's absolutely going to destroy him. And I think we're going to have the same troubles. And so, I hope Abe Lucas is back, but I don't think we're going to see any immediate gains either because dude hasn't played in a year, and he's barely practiced, and he's just going to show up and kind of improve everything. I'm a little skeptical, but that's the hope. All right, let's kind of transition. I think we got to talk about JSN, man, and I think that's another narrative that has been maybe. I think people are kind of overreacting now, but he did have 180 yards, could have had 250 yards, and this is what we've been waiting for pretty much 2 years. Like he had a great game against the Patriots, but it kind of felt like he got the best matchup. He got a lot of short catches. He dropped a big catch in that game, and so this is kind of the game for him where he exploded onto the scene. And I won't lie, prior to this game, I think people called him a disappointment. I would say he has been a little disappointing. I think he was the number one receiver drafted. Obviously, there wasn't any like Justin Jefferson's, Jamar Chase's in that draft, but he was the number one receiver drafted. And opportunity has been hard, but I think if you're good enough, the opportunities will come more naturally. And I think if you look at the tape, he has had some trouble separating. He doesn't have that speed, and so he needs to get crafty with his routes. He needs to find the space. And I think up until today or this past week, the performance hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been what you necessarily want or expected, right? I know people had high expectations, maybe just too high expectations, so maybe that was a problem. But I loved what I saw. He still needs to clean up. Like, I think he has great hands, but for some reason he doesn't feel confident in them always. He does body catches when I wouldn't expect, but yeah, what did you think on his game?
Yeah, I mean, starting with that negative that you're talking about, obviously the pick. Hard to blame Geno on that. That's another lack of trust in the hands because he's coming forward for no reason in front of the sticks. But that's the only gripe you have. I mean, you saw it all from JSN. The screen in the first half, third and long or second and long, breaking tackles. I mean, sitting in routes. You saw him win on the deep shot in the second half or after the turnover. I mean, just completely throws the safety in the wrong way. I mean, makes the huge catch coming back to the ball in overtime. Another underrated play, runs for another 30 yards. And yeah, there's a seam route that gets taken back from a holding call from Connor Williams, BS. A corner that gets taken off from Mike Jarrell, not BS, definitely a hold. But an unnecessary one, I will say. Beautiful ball from Geno, by the way.
Well, I think we lost him for a sec, but all is right. We did see kind of everything we wanted to see from JSN: the route running, the catching, deep routes, short routes, breaking tackles, and so that was honestly very nice to see from him. And so I'm very glad we got that out of him. And I don't when I came off first, I didn't want to say that he was disappointing on Sunday because he hasn't been. But this is what we've been waiting for, and it relieves a lot of stress about the wide receiver position. I think because Tyler Lockett, he might retire, he might not, but if he does, he'll be gone, and we need to fill that gap. And then, sorry, we lost all, but he'll be back soon. And then, yeah, once JSN is the star of the show, it'll be really interesting to see. You got to feel great about JSN and DK as the future of the receiver position in Seattle. And you have now 3 years more of him. And so if he can continue to produce like this, especially without DK, I'm really excited about when we can feature JSN more, and obviously DK as well. And that's gonna be it's great. So just overall, I'm really happy that we got that performance out of him. I'm glad to see your Wi-Fi is
Sorry guys.
co-
Yep,
co-
we're good.
cooperating.
Jumping
But
in on the
finish your
hot
thought.
spot here.
I try to get say what you were getting at, which is like
Oh,
he pretty much showed everything. But let's hear.
yeah. Yeah, I not much to say also than that. I mean, we all saw the game. There's not much to say. I think you're right. I think people are a little overreacting on Twitter, but you can't deny I'm excited to see them play again with DK and Tyler again. But I'd also like to say that I mean we got a 44% snap share Cody White this week, pretty much all in the second
Shout
half.
out Cody White.
Really good plays. I mean, I thought he played pretty well. He's not an elite route runner. There's a lot of plays he didn't make separation at all. But comparatively to Bobo, I think it was a lot different. I think he was a much better player. I think he was even a better run blocker than Bobo, who pretty much played most of the drives in the first half, and then Cody White played in the second half. So I would say that's a positive to look at. It's a positive to look at.
Are we out on Bobo? For me, I thought the move was more signaling they wanted more speed at that exposition or that DK route, and so Bobo just wasn't threatening the top, and so I thought they would go. That's why they did it. But if Bobo was just not blocking well either, that's interesting. Is that what you saw?
I saw. Well, there's that 13 personnel play where Bobo gets absolutely destroyed. I don't know if that's a fair position to put him in when he's lined up as a tight end on that 3rd and 1. But I saw everything I saw from Cody blocking wise that I seen from Jake Bobo. It did feel like he was a little inspired out there. You know, obviously playing his like second game in his career, getting his eighth or ninth target.
That's good though.
But it is good. Yeah, that's what we want to play. We want a player to play like that every week. So I can't deny. And he does look faster than Bobo. He comes out of breaks faster. I don't know if he's got better hands or anything, but I saw that catch on the sideline. That was pretty freaking good, Cody White.
That was a great catch.
And shout out Jay Harbaugh for dialing up that late stunt, creating that punt block, and it was perfect. It was perfect. He's even diving. He's diving away from the punter, but putting his hands on the ball just in case he misses it for the roughing. You just gotta appreciate Cody White for the play. I mean, practice squad guy. So shout out to Cody White. Shout out to Cody White.
You know, I gotta shake this feeling, man, because when I saw the punt block, I was like, please score, please score, please score. I do not
Mike
want
Morris, bro.
To recover the ball. Like, I knew that if we recovered the ball, I just did not feel good about us scoring in that red zone, and then we threw a pick. But God, I just want to shake that feeling where we get the ball in the 20. I should feel real good. I'd be like, let's go. It's the same thing with the Bills game. We had the pick down to the 5, and I was like, no, we needed to house that, and then we ended up not scoring at all, man. It's just so frustrating right now. I just want that curse to break, and it really just starts with not being negative. We can take a field goal sometimes, fine, but just don't turn it over.
Yeah, so let's move on to the defense now. Let's move on to the defense. We talked enough about the offense already. That was the poor position group. But watching the defensive film this week, very exciting. Saw a lot of Barrack fronts coming out, a lot of big nickel with Devin Witherspoon lined up in the box. It's exciting, bro. It's exciting. You got guys filling your gaps, guys winning one-on-ones, getting off blocks. I saw at least a good play from Draymond, Jaron. Every single player made a good positive play, like a significant play that altered it down, and that's just nice to see. Macdonald put his players in positions to succeed, and I think they did well. The touchdown drive, there's that Josh Jobe PI. It's whatever, you know. You send blitz, and then you give him inside leverage. As far as negatives go, I mean, Tariq had a rough day a little bit, and you said it yourself. Witherspoon gets beaten like 3 straight plays on that touchdown drive too, which is not talked about. He abandons the zone like twice. So he's an instinctual player. But a couple tackles for loss for that guy, and he's just so good. That Witherspoon's so good in the run game. It's a sight to see.
He's getting a lot of hate too, man, and I hate to see it as well.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because he plays every. Mike was saying this in many press conferences with the penalties earlier in the year. It's like he plays every single down with such aggression. And it's like, that's going to happen. You got a player like that. But that's like, I mean, people watch Earl Thomas play. That's what he was doing out there. That's what that entire team was doing. So, you know, you got to take your wins and losses on that one. I think that's always going to be a Witherspoon.
No, I mean, so many good things to say about the defense, right? Like things were going so bad in that first half again with the snap and just sacks and we didn't score until what a minute left in the first half, but it was fine because we didn't let the Rams even move the ball. It was crazy how good we looked, and every time we got a 3-and-out, I was shocked. But you could just tell like how they aligned, how they played. They were firing off the ball. They were playing more sound. And Ernest Jones, I don't know if you mentioned him, but when he's clean, he can keep himself clean. He can make tackles. You know, he's not the fastest guy. You can see him in coverage, but like he'll play his zone drops pretty well, and he does everything very solid. And you know, I'm excited about that because I didn't really know.
Great play.
Yeah, and so that's exciting, and I think this is just a good game to keep building off of. And you hope like you got a big test with the Niners, probably with McCaffrey coming back. And it was pretty bad against them last time. And so I want to see how we kind of adjust. And if we can stop their run game and force Brock Purdy into bad situations, I'm going to be excited. I'm still scarred from like that first third down we saw from him. And Jerome Baker tries to tackle Brock Purdy in the scramble and just gets beat outside. And then they end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. And so will Ernest Jones make a difference? I don't know. But I'm excited to see what will happen. Anything else you wanted to call on the defense? I mean, I thought overall it was a good performance, but
I'll talk about Ernest Jones a little bit. I think you can tell the difference on the film. It shows like how good his eyes are relative to even Tyrell Dodson. Every play action, he designates it so fast. Like he can pick it up real fast. The pick, I mean, he takes 2 steps forward and he's immediately back, drops in his hook. I mean, I gotta criticize him a little bit because you're wearing cutoff gloves with fingertips all around. You're never catching that ball, bro. You're never gonna catch that ball with fingertips wrapped around every single thumb with the cutoffs in the glove. I get some drip, but that's just goofy.
I cannot believe he dropped it. That thing was like lobbed in there. It was like off Stafford's back foot, no velocity, straight out his hands. I'm like, dude, if you're not catching that, you're not catching a single other pick ever.
Oh my gosh, man. But I would say that going to that Niners matchup, Jerome Baker plays worst game as a Seahawk in that game. That wide zone is just put so much pressure on linebackers to fill gaps, and that's what we did on so many outside runs were there. I specifically remember how many times did they get the ball in that fourth quarter? You thought it was over. You thought, oh, we're not going to get the ball again. The offense messed their chance up, and we got it back. And there's a toss play where Witherspoon comes down, Ernest Jones fills every gap, and it's like a 6-yard loss, bro. Yeah. And it's just such a good rap. Super exciting to see. It was fun to watch the defense play, which is
that first drive. It's just the third quarter. They did get us on some wide zone. I felt like, or they were getting around our edge a little bit, but we did clean it up. But I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I like to say that's Draymond Jones reps right there, which that was his drive. So I think there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I feel
with him at edge
because I just don't think he has the reps at edge to be able to set that edge well. You know, he's good in obvious situations, but I just don't think he's good enough or has practiced enough at like being able to get out on those edges, and he kind of gets.
You're right. It's a tough spot to be in. He's just not explosive enough to be an edge. He can't get upfield fast enough to set it. He's just get off is too slow, and he's not strong enough to the point where we're explosive enough just at all to play outside almost. But he's too small now to play inside. He just gets washed. So it's a tough spot to be in. He's lining up in 7-tech and 9-tech, and it's just not much you can do,
he has some decent reps, but yeah, he's definitely not terrible.
Oh, there's a play where he forces an incompletion, and that's why it's harsh to say because he gets upfield really fast. He designated the play action, and Stafford has the flat wide open, and there's nowhere to go. So he's got to throw in the dirt because Draymond's right there, which is a good play. Yeah. It's a good play, and it's different from the mistake he made earlier in the half. So he adjusted, and he's definitely a quality defensive lineman to rotate in. But you can't have Mafe and Derek playing every single down, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's just how it's gonna go. But this is still a good drive. I mean, we played well. We got to third down a couple times on that drive. Still.
Do we have the Reek penalty on the illegal contact, or is that a different drive?
That was I believe that was the same drive. Honestly, there should have been another Reek penalty on an illegal contact on a Puka double move. That's not called in the first half.
And then it went way.
Way over his head. Yeah, I saw that on the broadcast and I watched on the film. If they're gonna call the ones they called later in the game,
Maybe it was a
the,
make-up
the,
call
the
because I thought
DPI.
the DPI was soft. I mean, he kind of
Oh
pushes him after, but like, yeah, Reek is just a little.
yeah.
I mean, that's who he is, man.
Yeah, we can talk about Reek.
Like,
Oh, talk
situational
about Reek.
awareness. Yeah, let's talk about Reek. At the game, like, he obviously had the spectacular pick, but I just think maybe this is who he is. I think this is who he is. He just doesn't have like great football awareness still. Like, he doesn't realize the situation.
He's not a good player in zone. That's just the simple truth of it at this point. Yeah.
But even in man, like, I feel like he's not awareness in that he doesn't know what he's doing, but more so like what route to expect in this situation. They're trying to attack you, and his eyes just aren't right. His hands are sloppy sometimes. I mean, yeah,
He's soft too at the point of attack. That's just
it drives me crazy. He cannot. He's so soft, and especially
Even-
in the run game, he cannot fill. He
Yeah.
cannot replace. He's like scared to get juked, and then also scared to hit. So I just don't.
Yeah, there's the play he lets him get out of bounds. That's another play that I kind of hate. On that last drive, I think it was the one before the Kobe Bryant breakup. What a play by Kobe Bryant! Yeah, I think Kobe Bryant actually has good tape. He got beat in a couple corner routes, but he's there. Like those are perfect throws by Matthew Stafford. So it's hard to hate on Kobe there. But he's even good in the run game too. I think Kobe's actually one of our better players in the secondary.
He's been looking good. I think what I saw from him, at least in the Falcons game, his first start, is he was kind of putting his head down when he was trying to tackle, and he was missing tackles pretty often. I think if he can just clean that up, because he's not afraid, but it just feels like his sloppy technique sometimes. Then yeah, his speed is kind of mitigated at safety a little bit, and so when he doesn't have to cover man to man, which does happen sometimes, but he's all right. Like I think it'll be interesting because Rayshawn Jenkins, he's actually cleared to be off IR for the Niners game, and that'll be an extra week he gets off. So I'm wondering if he's good to go, what do you do? Because I thought Rayshawn was one of the worst players on the defense before they finally pulled him. He couldn't tackle with his club, and then he felt like he was out of he couldn't play a zone drop. He couldn't play close to the line of scrimmage very well. So I'm curious how they're gonna handle that. Maybe they move Kayvon Wallace. I think he got a high ankle sprain from what I saw. He kind of got rolled up on, and so
maybe they run.
Maybe they run Kobe at that big nickel. But I don't like Kobe in the in nickel because he's abused. Really? But yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe they run Rayshawn there. All right. Anything else in the defense?
Yeah, it's Sean Reek. Like, he just needs to be more aggressive. Obviously, the zone drop, the overtime play, it's just disappointing. He can't attack the ball. That's not something that needs to be talked about. I mean, Mike addressed it. I mean, he knows. They all know. But you just want to see improvement at some point. Even the pick he ended up getting, did not attack the ball with his hands, bro. Barely caught that shit. Just slipped into his legs. So, it's disappointing. But he's still such a talented corner that obviously you got to respect it. And play action, same with you were saying. If he's not going to tackle, don't bet on play action. Don't be watching the touchdown. Just don't. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's just hard for him, man. I wish he had more ferocity, but maybe this is who he is. I'll be interested to see because a lot of these young players we have are due for extensions. I mean, unless you want to risk him going to free agency. So this offseason is going to be interesting with guys like Reek, K9, Cross, Lucas. What if he comes back and he looks good? What do you do there? You probably don't give him an extension. You probably make him play another year healthy. But Kobe, I mean, who am I missing? Someone? Reek. Yeah, it's just like, oh no, Boye, like he's due for an extension too. Like all these guys are going to be entering their last year, their rookie deals, so you can't extend them all.
Cross.
So do some of them get traded? I think Cross for sure. Like he's popped, and he also has the 5th year, so you can have a year there. But yeah, that'll be a real interesting conversation. Like who do you extend?
Lots of money.
Does Reek get traded? I don't know. Maybe they keep him.
You're also looking at a position where you're gonna have to extend DK right now or never. Like so,
yeah, DK's coming up, so that'll be a fun time in the South season. All right, let's close this out. Let's talk about the penalties and Macdonald. What did you think of? I thought defensively, obviously Macdonald stepped up and the defense stepped up, so I'm very happy with how his side of the unit performed. But it's just been sloppy, man, and I hate putting it on the coach because it's the players who are making these mistakes, and like we got some not great players in O-line. We got some bad calls too, but the Seahawks are leading the league in penalties.
Yeah, historic
I'm not
pace.
sure if there's much there to diagnose. I mean, but is there any thoughts you have on him or like the decisions he made in that game?
Yeah, I think there's people that came to criticize the fourth down call in overtime, which is obviously a Mike Macdonald decision. I'm pretty neutral on it. You know, while your defense is playing, you're backed up, and obviously, hey, they're scared to give up the touchdown, and they gave up the touchdown. So I don't know. They people were talking about playing it differently, whether you're giving up 3 or 6. It doesn't matter. They gave it that's why he's going for it, right? So it's frustrating. We got to see his first challenge. It wasn't a good one. But he explained it. Yeah, he explained that it was a timeout first half. You know, at least he didn't really see it. He thought he was going to run out of time with the jumbotron.
Yeah, the stadium they did not show it. Like I had no idea. Because it's cup, I was like, all right, obviously he caught it, but from my angle and even from the angle they only showed it like once or twice, and it wasn't slow mo. It looked like the ball, like he caught it after his foot had slid out of bounds, and so it wasn't that he didn't catch it. I mean, obviously by the rule, but like he caught it, but it looked like it landed in his hands like as his foot was touching out. So I was like, kind of close. But then yeah, it was obviously it was a terrible challenge. I guess the broadcast made it obvious.
Yeah, it was immediately you knew it was a terrible challenge, but he explained that it was situational. You know, there were 4 minutes left, low risk, high reward, obviously. So I don't hate it. I mean, obviously he talked about how when he has a confident challenge, he's going to spike it down, but you know he kind of just like tossed it to the side this time, knowing that he's probably going to lose. So, yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, the most penalized team, but there's consistency also in the press conferences about. I love listening to Julian Love too. One of my favorite people to listen to during the press conferences about the turnaround and the belief in Mike. So that's always a good sign when your players are publicly backing your coach consistently, even in bad loss or well, not bad losses, but the Bills lost bad loss. This coming off is just a disappointing defeat in a late game scenario. So that's always a positive. And we also got to remember every single player on every single coach on the staff is just in their first year doing this for the first time. So there's so much. I mean, AD's his first year defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald, the first year head coach, obviously. And he's taking so much responsibility with this defense. Ryan Grubb is in his first year in the NFL, period. So it's hard to criticize coaching so much when you're a 4-5 team with a tough NFL schedule, relatively. I mean, so it's hard. I'm excited for years to come. I'm not questioning the Mike Macdonald hire. I have seen that on Twitter, which is just another one of those ones that makes me shake my head and question what we're seeing. But yeah, I back Mike. I'm excited to see how he comes out after his first bye week.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is his first bye week as a head coach. I'd love to see. I mean, they have foundation with that defense they played and the offense they have. If they can clean up a few things, just the negative plays, man, they will be so much more competitive. And I completely agree with you as well. I'm all in on Mike. What I've read and heard from different people on the team, they love Mike. They think he's a great coach. I think my expectations were too high coming into the year that we could kind of figure out these problems on the fly, and this rough patch has made it look a little worse. Just like situational football where I thought they were good early on, but then there's been cracks. But long term, like I'm really excited. I'm super excited for year 2, even though that's so far away. But like when he has more of his guys in the building, he has his system established. Like everyone knows what they're doing, and you have some continuity. Obviously, some positions are going to roll over and change, but you're going to have a solid core of young players. That's got me real excited. And so I'm really excited for Mike Mack. No people questioning him need to chill, man. Like it's been a brutal schedule. The one bad loss was the Giants. The Rams, we outplayed them and we should have won. You want to win those games, but it's his first year. And so let it happen. Let's see some improvement. And then next year, I'm stoked. I wish it was this year, but we'll see. Maybe they can pull something out of the hat, make a playoff game, and you never know. But
Yeah, all that being said, we're still not. I mean, our season's still very much alive 9 weeks in. So
absolutely,
you're in every position to go win now, and you're looking to win every week. So that's just something to be grateful for as a Seahawks fan with a new first year head coach, no matter what.
I agree. The margin of error is low, but you know, we've seen this team show so many good things on both sides of the ball. It's just gonna be about putting it together, and maybe this bye week and some confidence from last week does that. And maybe some guys getting healthy like DK coming
True.
back and Abe solidifying that right side of the line. That would be great to see. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No closing remarks. I mean, you said it yourself. Those injuries. Hopefully, we can come back. Excited to see how Macdonald handles the bye week. What he says during the bye week. How they're going to handle practicing. But yeah, I'm excited. And there's a lot of positives to take away from the last game, which is much more than there were from the Bills game. So improving every week. That's all you can do.
All right, love that. Appreciate your time. I think we're gonna try to get together for a show during this bye week. Maybe we can go
Yep.
over the kind of do a wider scale review of the season. See what we're looking forward to for the Niners game as well. Maybe get some updates on some players. Yeah. All right. I appreciate you all. Adios.
Shoot.